most people focus on what they do. A lot of people focus on what they have. Many people forget that truly living is about being. So as long as I remember that I'm a human being before anything, what I do is secondary. And then as long as I do it, I'll have whatever I want.
Welcome to another episode of Podcast 23, where we are here to spark the brain that will change the world. I'm here with my co-host.
Let's do it. It's Kofi here.
Kofi's here, and we have a very, very special guest. I feel like we're going to get into a real deep conversation today about, entrepreneurship, financial education. I consider him a brother of mine. I met him in 2016 at it was a meetup type of thing. And we've been cool ever since. We stayed in contact. Ladies and gentlemen, Loyan Mensah. Mensah, right?
Mensah is close.
Mensah.
But it's important. What I realized, Mensah, because your last name is meaningful, right? Because your last name is your family name.
Yeah.
Right. My last name represents my lineage, my family. Right. Like it's that's why even my children always say it's that last name in the back of your jersey, right? Home team.
Well, what you carrying, your legacy right 100%. There. He's a brother of mine's. Before anything, he's a human being. We had a conversation beforehand, and I was asking him, I'm like, what do I say in the beginning? And he said, before anything, I'm a human being. And that was just so powerful and impactful that you just acknowledge that at first. Outside of that, entrepreneurship, businessman, and we got to really tap into his life, and we got to tap into, everything that he's doing. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No, of course, appreciate it. So let's start on the journey of entrepreneurship. When did it start for you?
I always tell people when they say, hey, when did it start? I always say, I've always been an entrepreneur. Because in some way, shape, or form, I was doing something at what we would consider today as entrepreneurship. When the first time I realized it was second semester freshman year of college. Right, I went to school about an hour and a half from New York City. And see, in New York City, in high school, you get fresh, right? You go to school, your clothing has to be tight, your clothing has to be tight.
Yeah,
100%. For the people that don't know what that means, you gotta dress well, right? But going into college, it was totally different. People go to class in flip flops. So first semester, I had everything you could think of, from Jordans to this, outfits matching, and people used to compliment my outfits. But I realized that most people were going to class in flip flops and shorts. So second semester, I had an idea, because in college, you're broke. You don't have a lot of money. I said, what if I sold the clothes I wore first semester, second semester, and use that money as the re-up money for next year? So I would intentionally wear different outfits. When people complimented them, I remember who did, and I would sell full outfits from shoes, jeans, everything, because I didn't need to wear it next year. Yeah. Right. So that was the first step in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Sophomore year. It was a particular gaming console, and I went to somebody's dorm room, and I saw that they were able to make copies of the games, but they were doing it for personal use only. Yeah. But I had this idea, right? What if I was able to utilize that same system and sell a pack of 10 games to people? Because people in college don't have a lot of money. Yeah. Sophomore year, had another business. So every year I had some form of business. I only saw it as a way to cover costs while I was in school, because I didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. But that stayed with me throughout my life, right? I went from that to, I graduated from school, went to school for accounting and finance, started in accounting, and I realized I was like, man, I'm working for someone else, which was cool at first, right? My first check, I'm like, man, how do I get a Mercedes-Benz, right? That's how you're thinking. Yeah. But thankfully, a couple of years in, I partnered up with a brother of mine now, but a friend for years, and we had this crazy idea to start to educate people on real estate throughout New York City. That turned into people wanting to invest with us. This is back in 2005. People wanted to invest with us. Next thing we know, we raised probably a couple $100,000, and then we turned that into millions of dollars of real estate. Now we have a private equity fund, right? Had a job. Yeah. Didn't know what was going on, but we were doing something. Yeah. 2 years later, I hacked my way onto Wall Street. I was working at Morgan Stanley because of what I learned. Not what I was doing at my job. Yeah. Morgan Stanley turned into 7.5 years of learning money, being around wealth, managing over $7 billion of assets. But I'm a brother from the projects, right? Single mom, 4 kids. government cheese, you name it, right? So entrepreneurship also can start in the struggle, right? Because when you don't have, you got to create. And the more creative you are and the more you're able to take your creativity and allow it to be monetized, the better your life you have, right? So all of these principles led me to where I am now, where I own and operate one of the largest Black-owned business management firms in the world, I'm going to say, because intentionally what we do and how we transform the lives of creatives across the world is tremendous. I also have a wealth management agency. But my greatest gift is me being a dad, right? Having a son and a daughter and being able to let them be an example of what it means to make it happen. Right, because I don't have to say things if I do them, but if I say it and I do it, they fully understand. So it's life is a journey, man, and it's about being in a position where you just show up, right? Because if you're not willing to show up, who will? So the dynamic of being a human being, to speak to that, most people focus on what they do. A lot of people focus on what they have. Many people forget that truly living is about being. So as long as I remember that I'm a human being before anything, what I do is secondary. And then as long as I do it, I'll have whatever I want. So that's why I operate that way.
I'm about to change my bio on LinkedIn too. I like that.
I told you going far with this one, man.
I was actually going to ask you because I feel like I used to feel this way. I know some people that do now where, say, for example, if you live in check to check and you try to change that mindset, it gets a little scary. Now you make excuses. Oh, I can't save this because I got to spend on this. What's your advice for people that's trying to get out of that check-to-check mindset?
It's a great question. So what is check-to-check mindset? Because everyone's perspective and definition is different. So what is a check-to-check mindset?
For me, it's kind of like you're spending most of what you have and not using it in any productive way. Like, one check, for example, for me, speaking for myself, when I was younger, I spent a whole check on this outfit. So then the next check, I'm trying to I got to eat noodles today, or I got to eat at their house rather than actually having something I could fall back on. So for me, when you live check to check, sometimes you don't have nothing to really use throughout the rest of that second week. That first week, you use all you got. Now this week is survival. So I think that's more so what it means for me.
It's like you're one missed check from being completely broke. And we know so many people, and especially growing up in low income housing, we grew up in those environments, right? We're used to that, right? If one check is not there, you might not have food on the table for the next week. So that's pretty much like living check to check.
And I appreciate that. And the reason I asked that question is because when I hear check to check, there's a couple of things that come up, right? Living, lifestyle, learning. Living, lifestyle, learning. When you mentioned check to check, brother, a lot of your check went to your lifestyle. You bought an outfit.
Yeah.
When you mentioned check to check, you spoke to eating, which is living. So the first thing people have to do is identify where their money is going. If your check is going to your lifestyle, that's a choice. That's not a need. That's not a necessity. That's a want. Versus going to food, going to shelter, which is living. So what I would share with anyone who genuinely cares about transforming their future, it starts with the decisions and the choices we make in that present moment. You allocate your check, a portion of it to living and a portion of it to learning how to get out of the cycle. And then you use the learning to create more earning so that you can be able to pay and afford your lifestyle. And that's how you elevate it. But until you do that, you're going to stay in a cycle of check to check because you're investing or using your check for a lifestyle to look like something versus be something. So that's the mindset that has to be transformed in order for something to really happen. And it's not easy, right? It's work. But the work works when you work. And it's easier when you're around other people that hold you accountable to it. Because it's one thing to say it, but if you're around everyone who is using their resources for their lifestyle, you're going to fall into that as well, right? How brave are you or comfortable are you to say no to the people that you care about, to say no to your friends? Hey, I want to go out on a weekend. Do you have to, right? You're using your check for a lifestyle versus investing in, let's say, a conference, learning, a book, learning, elevating your mind, learning.
Yeah.
You see, you invest more in the learning, and I'm not talking about school, and nothing against school. I went to college, I graduated, et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking about learning skills to be able to create resources to get you out of your situation so you can ball out if you want to.
Yeah.
But if you check to check, why are you focused on a lifestyle? You got to first live,
Yeah.
learn, earn, and then create that lifestyle.
Yeah, because the lifestyle is like more of like the things, right? The clothes, the partying, and you know, the fun stuff. At what point did you notice that? Was that something already that was already embedded in you, or that's just, you know, throughout time you're like, all right, hold on, I got to make a switch here? Was it a mentor that came your way and said, you know what, maybe you should tweak your mental process on things?
It happens over time. I mean, it's still happening, right?
Yeah.
Because the more money you make, it happens. It's a never-ending thing, right? Because when the mindset is not something that's fixed.
Yeah.
Once I learned one thing, think about a video game, right? You get to level 2.
Yeah.
You don't stay on level 2. Once you beat the boss of level 2, you go to level 3, right? So when it comes to mindset, there's levels to it. So there were times where I made stupid decisions with my money. And there's times where I made fantastic decisions with my money. Neither of those times define who I am. That was just part of the journey. Right? There was no losses. There's only lessons.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the quicker you're able to adapt to your current situation, and you just, for anyone who can hear this, identify, hey, am I using my resources for living, for lifestyle, or for learning? And that's not something that someone told me. I experienced it, and eventually I came up with something that a life standard for me.
Gotcha.
Right? So we have to be able to create these standards and values for our own life, right? Because if we don't, we allow life and external parties to create the standards and values for us.
No, that was that.
And I was going to say, too, because I know a lot of people will say, yeah, I had dreams, but then I had a kid, so the dreams is now my kid. How do you still keep your dreams going while having a family?
I am more successful now because I have children, period. In 2012, when I had my son, that's when, and in 2012, my son was born. I still had a job, right? It was a well-paying job, Wall Street. I mentioned the firm I was with. My son was born in September of 2012. October of 2012 is when my journey started to build out a wealth management firm while I had a job, right? I was always building things. But it was a period of time because I was at this illustrious firm, Wall Street. They were paying me a lot more than I ever thought that this kid from the projects would get paid. So I forgot that I was an entrepreneur. I forgot I was designed to create, build industry, to have real wealth until my son was born. And when I looked at him, as soon as he was born, I said, there's no way someone will ever dictate how I feed him, ever. Automatically it shifted. Fast forward, my daughter was born in 2018. So in 2018, I elevated everything. So my son was the reason why I shifted to my wealth firm. My daughter was the reason why, we turned it up where I'm like, man, I thought it was okay to talk about 7 figures, right? And like, hey, 7 figures, cool. My daughter came, it's my princess. I said, man, we turn it up, right? 8 figures minimum.
Yeah.
And people may hear that and say, man, money is not everything. It's not. Money is not everything, right? But people will also say, time is money. Time is not money. Time is life. So if time is life, and for the people who say time is money, right? So I believe time is life. The more money I have, the more I can present tense that future life that I want. A lot of people say, one day when I have, I will. People want to wait till they're 65, 60. When in retirement, I will. Why would I wait until 65 to live? Let's say average life expectancy is 85. So I'm going to wait to 65 to live good for 20 years versus I do whatever I need to do right now in this moment to present tense that future life by present tensing that money so that I can be able to have more life to live it. And if it were not for my son and my daughter, would I have the same drive? I doubt it. I would have drive, but I wouldn't have the same drive I have now, because it's impossible for me to see them, feel their essence, know that they didn't ask to be here. They didn't. So they're here. So it makes sense for me to do what I need to do to make sure that they're great. And it doesn't stop with them. It goes with their mom, my siblings, my mom, my dad. I want to make sure I win for my entire family, not because they asked me to, because I choose to. So I don't use children as an excuse. Some people do.
Yeah.
I use my children as a reason. And that's an amazing reason. And before I had my children, I used my mother as a reason. Right? Because my dad, my pops, he left, and he's my homie today, but he left when I was 5 years old. My mom raised 4 of us by herself in the projects, 2 jobs. So I use her as a reason. She never quit on me, so how can I quit on myself? So if we look around, there's always a way, a reason, a person, an experience that we can use as fuel, use as a reason, or we can use as an excuse. We decide. Nobody else.
It's like, what's your why, right?
100%.
Like understanding your why. Wow, powerful. I want to go into financial education and entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Oftentimes, this is something that's been, recently, a lot of people are talking about financial education, entrepreneurship. What is the difference between the both? Is there a difference, or are they just both in one pot? Because when I talk to people, I talk about entrepreneurship, and then they go into financial education, but there's like a lot of elements within both, right?
Absolutely.
So I want you to just to speak on that.
So both of them touch money.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be the nexus or the similarity. Both of them touch money, but they're distinctly different, because financial education is education, right? Financial education is not even financial independence. It's just education, because you have to be informed and then take action to hopefully become independent. So when you talk about financial education, it's learning the tools, the resources, and having an understanding of how money works, how to grow, protect, and save your money, right? Grow it. There's various ways to do that. Protect it. There's various ways to do that. And save it. There are various ways to do that. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, that deals with creating something, right? Having a business. So an entrepreneur is a mindset first, right? In terms of being able to own your space. Right, because ownership starts in your mind first, and then it gets manifested in what you do. Right, so as an entrepreneur, you're someone who says, hey, I want to take an idea, take a resource, or take some kind of goods or service and create industry from it, make money off of it. Right, but you have entrepreneurs that don't have the proper financial education, so they're great at making the money, but they're not great at keeping the money. And then you have a business owner, which is distinctly different than an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Right? Because a business owner understands the dynamic of creating systems to run the business so that now they can be able to live the life they want to live without having to be tethered to a job. Because being self-employed, you still have a job, right? You're just the owner of your job.
You work for your job. Yeah.
Did you ever have big doubts that you had to overcome, or anything that was I guess for example, we live in a project, so you'll hear somebody share a dream, the next person say, you can't do that. We all tried that. You can't do that. Did you have to go through that, and how did you get through that, mentally?
Absolutely. I mean, we all do, right? Fear, doubt, and worry, right? Those are the 3 devils that you have to, on a constant basis, deal with, right? Now, do I have to deal with that now where people say that? Absolutely not, because I choose who to be around, right? My environment matters. Although I am a thermostat, right? I change the temperature when I walk into the room. I still don't want to be around other people who attempt to change my temperature. So I'm mindful of that. I'm mindful of the people that I invest time with. I'm very conscious of that. Now, there was a time where I wasn't aware of that. So yes, when I would share things, people would say, hey, that's not possible, until I realized they're right. It's not possible for them. That has absolutely nothing to do with me. So typically when people are saying that, they're saying it to you, but they're really speaking to themselves. Just like how if you're walking on the street and somebody calls you out of your name, you decide if you want to be upset or not, right? If they call you out your name, they were speaking to you, but it may not be for you unless you decide that it's for you. So someone could say anything, right? People talk all the time, right? Because they have to say something. And another thing you have to be mindful of, when people are saying that, and let's say it's a group of people saying that, they're afraid. And what they're afraid of it actually working for you, because now they have to look at themselves and say, hey, if he did it, why couldn't I? And some people are terrified of having to look at themselves in the mirror and deal with that. Yeah. So they rather keep you where they are versus elevate you. And that's okay as well, because we have to deploy the dynamic of being a human being. All of it is okay. We have to deploy massive amount of love and empathy for folk, because we don't know what they're going through. Everyone is going through something. Yeah. So just because they're doing that doesn't make them a bad person. They're just going through something, and that's the only way they know how to either show love or protect themselves. And it's all okay. Yeah. And so when you go from that standpoint, you stop looking at people as, hey, that person said something good, bad, right, wrong. They just said something, right? It's the definitions and the value that we put on it that makes it all worth it, right? So if somebody says that to you, and in your mind you're like, man, I love him anyway, right? I love him enough to know that he doesn't know, and that's okay. Let me show him, or let me show her. Yeah. Let me be the example. And the people who are brave enough are going to say, hey, brother, can you help me get there? And the people who are not, they're not. It's all okay.
Powerful. We talked about mindset, right? So what are like some good tips and tools that you would tell young men to shift their mindset, or how to shift their mindset? Is it a book? Is it going out and finding mentors? Because I know the importance of finding mentors. I consider you one of mine. Like, what would you say towards that, as far as like, shifting your mindset? What would you tell young men and young women too that are trying to pursue the field of entrepreneurship, that want to learn more about financial education? How do they start with the mindset? What does that really mean?
First, you got to choose to do it, right? Not be forced into it, choose to do it. And secondly, I say do it all. What do I mean by that? So I operate on the premise of there are 5 pillars of life that if you focus on elevating those 5 areas, it doesn't matter what you do, you will be better. Mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, and financial. If you want to be a better at anything, you become better at those 5, you will be better in those areas. Why is that important? As an entrepreneur or someone on a quest to financial independence through first obtaining financial education, mentally, you're going to go through things, right? So mentality, when it comes to the books you read, the people you speak to, the individuals you surround yourself with, things of that nature. Spiritual, like being connected to something, someone, right? Regardless of what people choose to follow, what have you, if you don't believe that there's a greater power and you can tap into that power to be able to show up as your best self, what are you really tapped into, right? Emotional. We're all emotional beings. Men, women, we're all emotional beings, right? We feel, right? So there are going to be things that happen in your life that you're going to have to operate from the standpoint of either having a high level of emotional intelligence, but also having emotional agility, being able to adapt in situations that in the past may have thrown you off, right? Physical. What you put into your body matters, right? In all aspects. But then also there's something to, let's say, for instance, I mentioned that I rode a bike in the city down here today, right? Yeah. Why? I could have drove my car down, could have took the train, but it was a good day. I wanted to ride a bike, right? Yeah. Why? Because I'm letting my body know that I wanted to move, right? So energetically, I'm in a better state right now because I did that. Not to say that if I drove my car down, I wouldn't be, but I wanted to move my body, right? And there's something to, even let's say, for instance, we're going through something mentally, when you move your body, you release it. You work on those first 4, finances come easily and effortlessly. So I say everything. I've done what's called mirror work, right? I used to, when I had a job, I used to interview at other companies on purpose. That made me a better entrepreneur, because I had to sell myself to other people and close on the job. Sales.
Yeah.
I had a job and I wasn't looking for another job, but I wanted to get the job and then turn it down because I had to stay sharp. That helps me today. The reason why I'm better able to articulate, communicate, connect with folk is because I did that. No one told me to do that. It was just a crazy idea. But typically, those crazy ideas are ideas that you want to execute because they come to you for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Now, also mirror work, speak to yourself. If you wake up in the morning while you brush your teeth, after, before, what have you, you tell yourself, people speak about affirmations, what have you, tell yourself how great you are. How do you expect the world to tell you you're great if you don't tell yourself you're great? I'm big on all of it, right? Whatever will help you elevate, right? In the library and in the bookstores, you have the self-help section. Self-help is important. Group help is important as well. So who you surround yourself with matters. You're not going to agree with everyone that you surround yourself with, which is okay, right? Your closest friends, sometimes you're going to disagree with them. Disagreement there's nothing wrong with disagreement because people will have their opinions on things. And what makes you a better human being is understanding how to navigate even when you disagree with someone and still are able to appreciate them for who they are. So all of these tools make you a better entrepreneur because an entrepreneur is someone who typically solves problems. And to the level of the more you're able to solve an issue or a problem, the world will pay you more money. So if you're not able to first solve the ultimate problems in your life, which is your own personal problems, how do you expect to solve problems of the world? So those 5 areas will allow you to solve your own problems by creating massive solutions. So now you operate from a solution-oriented standpoint, and then you'll be able to transform the problems of the world, right? So even when I'm talking to people and they're sharing something with me, I say, hey, feel free to share the issue, but also bring a solution to it as well so we can talk about that. Right, so I tell people how to deal with me in real time, and I'm unapologetic about that.
Like that.
I was gonna say, I just had it too. Come back to me on this one.
So you went through the educational system. What is something that you would want to add in the educational system? You know, if you could, right? If they said, you know, they came to you and said, you know, you can add something in the educational system, right? Whether it's a program, what would that specifically be?
Absolutely. It'd be meditation. It'd definitely be meditation. It'd be music, right? And that's why, you know, we're playing the music now because of the fact that there's an essence to music.
Yeah.
Right? There's something that it makes you feel. So like music therapy, if you will, right? And it sounds interesting, but yeah, music, because they in a lot of schools they took away music, right? But there's something to instruments. There's something to that essence that matters, right? Emotional intelligence, teaching helping people adapt to situations. You have adults who do not know how to resolve conflict. Because they were never taught, right? I don't see that as good. They just nobody taught them, right? We're all kids, just years later, right? I'm an adult. I have all this wisdom from what? Because you went to school, because you got a job, because you make money. What did you learn along the way, or did you just consume what you were taught? There's a difference. So I would absolutely incorporate emotional intelligence, music. I would incorporate meditation, intentional meditation, absolutely financial education, right? But when I say financial education, I don't mean just, hey, let me teach you how to set up a bank account. That's not financial education.
Not at all.
This stuff is important. But I'm talking about, hey, how do we create something? In middle school, every time my son says, hey, Daddy, I have this new business idea, I get so excited. He's 10 years old. He has another one, right? Now he wants to do a juice bar in his school.
Right? That's fire.
Right? He was selling bracelets before. I don't care what it is. The fact that he has, I'm like, what do we have to do? Right? All of it. Right? Now, another reason I'm excited about him wanting to do a juice bar is because he's seen his dad put the work in, right? Drinking juice, working out. So it's also showing me that the work is working.
Yeah.
Right?
He's mirroring you pretty much.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? We talk about ownership all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So these are the things that if we're not teaching this to children, then you're going to have I guess a country of folk who are just waiting for opportunities versus creating the opportunities. There's nothing wrong with being a consumer of things, but if you're consuming more than you're producing, chances are eventually you're going to be positioned where you have no more resources to be able to live life.
And my question actually got for you is, so everybody says a mentor has a mentor. Everybody has their person before them. Who did you really look up to, and who were like your real role models to help you get to where you are?
My number one role model, my mama. Number one role model, my mama. Single mom, 4 kids, projects, 2 jobs. She taught me entrepreneurship before I even knew what entrepreneurship was. She taught me 2 key principles, right? Surround yourself around people smarter than you, and treat everybody how you want to be treated. That never left me. Now, along the way, I may have dropped the ball in different, but that never left me. So my mother first. But I also, I've reverse engineered from when I was a kid up to today, the people who, see, oftentimes we think a mentor is someone who stays with us forever. But there are people who, like this one brother who, my first job, although we were cool, there's one thing he did for me that transformed my life. He told me to go to the Real Estate Wealth Expo in 2005. And when I went to the Real Estate Wealth Expo in 2005, I met one of my business partners who we started that real estate company together, and my life was forever transformed because that led to Morgan Stanley, which led to investment banking, which led to my first real official company, which led to my second. So there are people who just say, hey, go left versus right. The person when I was still living in the hood and somebody literally said, hey, Junior, don't go over there. That's what they called me growing up. And some things happened to the people who went over there, and I'm still here. So to me, that's mentorship, even if that was mentorship for that split second. Right? So all of it matters. We have to be willing to appreciate guidance, even if it's for a second, a moment, or appreciate guidance if it's for years. All of it is value. I am literally here today because my mother and my dad decided to have me, right? Both decided to have me. And even when I speak to the dynamic of even my pops leaving when I was 5 years old, he was there until I was 5 years old. He didn't have to be. And we have an amazing relationship right now.
Yeah.
So all of it I've learned from.
Yeah.
Even him having to leave and us choosing to have a relationship now, I learned from that. We can learn from everything if we choose to. I learn more from my kids than probably any adult right now. Because there's a period of children that only gets tainted if the world taints it.
Yeah.
Right? All these ideas my son has, all these ideas my daughter has, that's the pureness of who we are as people until we allow the world to taint us, if we so choose. So I'm forever learning, man. I have mentors. My children are my mentors, man. Yeah. All of it. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Great question.
So this part of the show, it's extremely important for us. It's called Conversations with Your Younger Self. What or how many? Even if you had a few pieces of advice, right? What advice would you share with your younger self if you can speak to him right now?
What would I share with my younger self? It's interesting because I share a lot of it with my son now, right? It's do it all, right? The things that you're the most afraid of are the things that are going to help you become better. And it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not know. It's okay to fail. It's okay to figure it out. It's okay, right? You don't have to beat yourself up. If everything that happens outside of you is not your fault. Everything. My pops leaving when I was 5. It wasn't my fault, right? It wasn't his fault. It was no one. It just happened. So everything that happens, it just happens, and it's okay. Also, just have fun, right? The things that you love to do, just do them. Don't worry about what other people. Just enjoy it, man. And I'm telling my younger self that, but I'm also speaking to my current self as well, because sometimes we don't have to be told what to do. We just have to be reminded. And the things that bring me the most joy, the more I do them, the more I make money in business, everything else. So tapping into that, whatever puts us in the highest form of joy or sustains our joy, will always allow us to excel in what we do for a living. Because in operating in joy, we are living.
I actually want to thank you for saying that, because I feel like me personally, getting personal now, like I feel like when it comes to myself, I get tough on myself with the learning. Like, I should have learned from this already. I went through this again, like, rather than appreciating the knowledge still coming in later. So I thank you for that, actually.
Definitely. And it's a word. See, it's funny because you asked my son, right? Can't and should. He'll be quick to say it's a bad word, right? And I remember his mom used to, but you shouldn't tell him that. There's a reason, right? Can't, right? What can't we do? Right? Even when people are like, oh, you can't fly, but I am fly. So I'm flying. Because if I am fly, that means I'm flying, right? So it's all perspective. And then should can damage us. If I ever tell someone, hey, no one should do anything. So if somebody's going to say, Loyan, you should have. No, I could have. You may have liked me to, but I have a choice. So even the words, when we speak about words have power, yes, they do. Can't and should. So, my brother, even you telling yourself, hey, I should have did this. There's nothing you could have. You could have done it, and you didn't do it, and it's okay, right? It's all okay because you're here. You're winning because you're here. That's what matters. You're present. You can look back and say, hey, it could have been different, but a lot of things could have been different. You could have turned left on a block versus right, and somebody could have did something to you and you wouldn't be here, right? So, but you're here. So because you're here, you're living, you're present. What you do right now, that's all that matters. So I appreciate even that authenticity, because even as human beings, we sometimes are afraid to share, to be, 100%. Right? And it's not to be overly emotional, but it's okay to feel, right? If you get hurt, it hurts, right? Is your body, you got to feel. But if you get hurt and it hurts, it doesn't mean it's going to hurt forever. It hurts for the moment it hurts because your body is saying, hey, do something about it. So when you feel something that may be painful, it's just your body's reaction to say, hey, do something about it. Not sit in it, not sit in the pain, identify the pain, understand what caused the pain, and do something about it. So every experience has a purpose if we so choose to embrace that purpose. And the cool thing is, as long as we know that and we surround ourselves with people who may know it, or sometimes you may have to be the most vocal person in your circle to share it. And it may be annoying to folk, and that's okay, because you're being you. Yeah. And if you love them enough, you're going to share it anyway. Right? And it's all cool.
You mentioned meditation, and that's something I've been, into recently, past like year or so. I guess you meditate, obviously. How often do you meditate, and why is it important to meditate?
Great question. First, I'm gonna speak to the different types of meditation, right? Because I've been learning on this journey of life that everything. This is just my opinion. Yeah, I think everything is a meditation. We're meditating right now in this conversation. Dance is a meditation. Laughter is a meditation, right? Because meditation is coming back to breath or coming back to self, right? So oftentimes people don't even pay attention to their breathing, right? And breathing is life. If you don't breathe, you don't live. If somebody's brain dead, they still technically considered alive. But once your heart stops, that means you're no longer alive. So that means there's no more breath. So the reason why meditation is important, because it reminds you of how alive you are. So it could be meditation from the standpoint of being in stillness, closing your eyes, sitting in a certain, and just taking deep breaths. And there's different types. There's like 4-part breathing. There's different types of breathing, right? There can also be guided meditation where you do the same thing, but someone is actually guiding you through it, right? There's so many audios on YouTube, what have you, can go through.
Yeah.
But dancing is also a meditation.
Yeah.
Right? Dancing is one of my biggest forms of meditation because it's one of the forms where I feel the most alive. Yeah. And for the people who know, they know. And for the people who are probably hearing this for the first time, they're like, man, Loyan, you like to dance? I love dancing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a way for my body to connect with not just the music, but the rhythm between the music. Right? And energetically puts you in this trance, if you will, dance trance. Right? So there's this thing that it does, right? I've been intoxicated dancing, not because I was drinking, but because I was dancing, right? So, and I grew up in New York City, right? It's the thing with, it's a flow to dance, right? So it's learning that meditation doesn't have to be just this one thing. Hey, it has to be this way, right? As long as people remember that it just means getting back to breath, which how I interpret that, it means remembering that you're alive and doing the things to help you remember that you're alive. I've also done what's called it's just being in silence. Maybe that's meditation, maybe that's not.
It is.
And I wasn't doing it to clear my mind, because even in trying to clear your mind, a lot of things come in. I literally closed my eyes and I just allowed thoughts to just flow. Yeah. And what I learned from that is we are not our thoughts, right? Our thoughts are separate than us. So I ask anyone who can hear my voice or see this, when's the last time you thought about what you were thinking about? That becomes a meditation.
Right there. Once they heard that's the meditation right there. I always see it like a slideshow. Like, when I first started meditating, I literally seen my thoughts as a slideshow, and I was able to go through it. Like, oh shit, I'm thinking about okay, I'm going through that. So yeah, man, that's powerful, man. For us to sit here as black men and talk about this, it's extremely important. And I'm on my own personal mission to teach meditation. We didn't get to talk about this inside the public school system. So I'm trying to reach out to the DOE and have mindfulness classes. I'm actually going to do it here at the Hudson Guild. So everything comes in full circle. And for you to say that, it's another reminder to keep going.
It's huge.
Because in entrepreneurship, and starting your own business, there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And those down moments could be extremely hard because you might not have nobody to fall back and to even talk about it, or where do I go from here? And you just saying that in this moment is just a reminder for me. So I just want to say I appreciate you, bro. Like, real talk.
Likewise. Appreciate both of you, brothers. And the fact that you're doing that is a big deal, because in entrepreneurship and in life, there's ups and downs. Yeah. Right. And I learned about grounding and being grounded through meditation. Yeah. Right. So when there's ups and downs, when you're grounded, you don't fall, right? Because you're already at a stillness that, regardless of, because in life there's gonna be ups and downs, right? But I've also learned, don't never get too high on your highs or too low on your lows, right? Just flow with it, because everything happens because it's happening, right? And you can have to choose for it to be happening to you or for you, until you understand that everything is for you. Even if you don't see it, the faster you see it, the faster you understand that, the faster you embrace it, the faster you get to live, right? Because living is being present. And if you focus on things that happen to you, that means you're living in your past. If you focus on it, you have fears or worries about things that can happen, that means you're living in the future that doesn't exist. Being present is the only place we truly live. And that's where that like meditation, that's where that works. right? So the fact that you want to bring that to children, that is huge, because there are a lot of people who, if they had that in school, they'll be operating so different now as adults who are really children, right? Because we all are.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
But there are a lot of unhealed children who have on the adult suit.
Oh man, real
Like
talk.
what he said is very true too, because just thinking about what you just said, like I feel like now from me in my life now, I'm still in my 20s, but I feel like now I'm more in a peaceful phase where I feel like before I used to build on the highs, and then when it's low, it's dark. Where now I feel like, yo, I'm here, it get high, okay, cool, get low, okay, cool. So that's what you said is just like, it resonates with me right now, and it reminded me to stay with that, because we've been experiencing some highs, and I'm like, don't get too high with it. Stay where you at and just keep going forward. So that's big.
And have fun with it, man.
Yeah.
We are kids.
Yeah.
Remember, I grew up in the projects, right? You guys can understand. You have the monkey bars, you have the swing, you have the net that you climb up. You have as a child, when you ran into the park, you did not focus on, hey, let me do this, let me do that. You just did it. Mm-hmm. And if you went on a slide and you didn't like it, you went on a monkey bars. If you went on the monkey bars, you didn't like it, you went on this.
Yeah.
That's life. Just enjoy. If you didn't know the kids in the park, you said, "Hey, my name is." You didn't even say. You just started playing with them.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it,
Yeah.
probably found out their name, or you didn't, but you just enjoyed. We have to start to be in joy with ourselves so we can enjoy life.
And that's being extremely present, like here in the now. Ah, man, powerful. Let us know, like plug yourself in, what you're doing, where people can find you, any tags, anything you want to plug in.
People can find me in this world, right? And the people who know me, and the people who want to know me, they will, right? I'm at Loyan Mensah everywhere, Loyan Mensah, at Loyan Mensah everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the cool thing. There are going to be people who hear this message and hear this conversation years from now who are going to be blessed because of it. Right. So I've learned that it's our responsibility to have dialogue, right? And whoever chooses to consume it and what they choose to get from it is what's going to allow them to live the life they live, right? So my desire for anyone who ever hears my voice, watches something that I do, what have you, is that I'm able to say something, do something, inspire something within them that allows them to truly dance to the rhythm of their life and be as creative as that they can be, and understand that they own their future as long as they know that who they are in their present moment. And that's my design, man. And I'm cool with that. Like I embrace it. I allow it. And I'm grateful to everyone who's put me in a position to be here, because there's a lot of folk who have looked out for me, and I'm extremely grateful for. Right. I'm not self-made. Right. And I'm okay with that. There are a lot of people who help me be here, right? And there's going to be a lot of people who help me get to the next level, and I'm going to help a lot of people get to the next level, whatever that looks like. So look me up, hit me up on any of those. Hit me up on any of the social channels. Yeah, we're having fun, man. Like we truly are helping people illuminate the being within themselves. We just happen to do it within the space of business, entrepreneurship, finance, but all of it is really truly life currency. And we're helping people see their value and use the resources to create value so they can be able to live life.
And that's our slogan, right? Spark the brain that will change the world. And this episode was a true definition of sparking the brains of the people, man. Thank you so much, Loyan, man.
My
This was an amazing episode, man. I have to run this tape back and hit and catch all these gems, man. So I appreciate you for tuning in with us.
My
Bless
pleasure,
you, man, on your life journey, being here on this earth, man, and your family journey and your entrepreneur journey, man. I wish you the best with everything, bro.
Likewise. You brothers keep doing what you're doing. It's important, it's necessary, even at times where you may not see it.
Yeah.
Understand that people feel it. Because obviously vision is deeper than sight, right? So keep going. Keep growing. The world needs it.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. That was dope.
Baby.